good friend Bob from Discovery. Bob? Bob? He's on Discovery Bay Chimps, I think. Helps him out.
Too much.
IT guy.
But
I forgot his last name, but yeah, that's the one. He said to say hello.
I couldn't help myself.
are your own.
Oh, that's right. He is.
That's
Yes,
where I just draw the line.
Thanks.
he said hi.
How are you? Look at work in the room. Oh my god.
Right now. 30 seconds. We're ready. Right, and everything's working.
Come on.
I do.
Used to be able
I
to.
do have it today.
Oh, wow.
I know.
I thought it was it's not 6:30. There it is. Y'all ready?
Yes.
Good evening. This is a regular joint meeting of the Oakley City Council. Oakley City Council acting as a successor agency to the Oakley Redevelopment Agency, Oakley Public Finance Authority. This meeting is called to order at 6:30 p.m. We'll do a roll call. Councilmember Shaw.
Here.
Vice Mayor Williams.
Here.
Councilmember Henderson.
Here.
Councilmember Fuller.
Here.
And I am Aaron Meadows, the mayor. 1.2, Pledge of Allegiance. We will have the pledge done by Parker Holder. You can come up. Parker Holder is a 5th grade student at Laurel Elementary. He has been attending Laurel since kindergarten. He has 3 siblings and a puppy named Delaney. What kind of dog? What's your dog?
A golden poodle.
Golden poodle, okay. Parker's favorite color is red. And he loves video games, Rainbow Friends, and Garten of Ban Ban.
Come on.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
He always wants a pet. Can't go away without that. Okay, thank you, and don't forgive me. Thank you.
Item 1.3, update from Diablo Water District General Manager Dan Mulrath.
Good news should be short news. So we'll go through a few slides, but I think everybody knows that the water supply picture has changed quite a bit since I was here last year. Last year, we were in year 3 of a drought, preparing for year 4. The bar charts you see represent reservoirs all throughout the state. You have both Central Valley Project reservoirs, which is where Contra Costa gets their allocations, and you also have state water project reservoirs there. But bottom line on your screens, if you see that green bar, that's a historical average to date. Almost every reservoir in the state is above that. So our main contributors to the Central Valley Project on this map is Lake Shasta and Lake Trinity. And so they're either right near historical average or above average. And they were that way early in the season. And that's why the governor removed the drought executive order back around the March time period. And the only thing still in effect from the drought executive order is the statewide prohibition of commercial turf irrigation for non-functional turf. And so that's the only one that the state left in place. So supply's looking good. Looking at demands, just to give a little historical context, water demands in our service area over the past decade have gone down over 25%. And so customers are not only heeding the conservation call when we need it in the time of drought, but they're continuing those efforts afterwards. One new thing that's coming up, and you even see a to be determined % on there, is the state of California has passed regulations that will limit the amount of water that we can actually sell to our customers. And so on top of the 25% drop we've already seen through conservation and water use efficiency efforts, there could be up to another 20% on indoor conservation and probably somewhere in the teens on the reduction in outdoor conservation. And again, that's not to individual customers. So if y'all get phone calls on anything water, or Josh does, or anybody else, obviously you always steer them our way. You don't need to be the experts in it. But this is the district as a whole. We're going to get a water budget from the state, Diablo Water District, not council members, not individual citizens. So it's our job as a district to manage it. So looking at the balancing the long-term water supply and water demand picture in the greater Oakley region here, good news is that they are fairly balanced in the long term. We've identified additional water supply sources that we can go to as the city continues build out and surrounding areas look at joining our water system as well. Our biggest thing that we're working on right now, if you've heard it from either Diablo Water District board members or seen it in our minutes, we're calling it blue sky planning, and we're looking at water supply alternatives to make ourselves more resilient in the long run. So come times of drought, emergencies, whether it be something happens in the Delta, we have seismic events, that's been our focus in this exercise. And it's blue sky because the skies are blue. We're not in the midst of a big issue right now. So we figured now's the time to plan and make those decisions to hopefully move some projects forward. So our goal is to help the customers. Like I said, the regulation is to the district on what we can sell. And some of these are what we've been doing the last couple of years. So on our slide there, you can see that we have free shower heads, aerators, hose nozzles. Those are the easy wins for customers to install. We also have our lawn to garden rebate program, and you can see that picture that's there actually shows an image of an Oakley resident that had removed their turf, put in low water use landscape, received a rebate for it. And then we also have our customer service team that's always there to answer questions and help guide people through additional conservation activities. But the best tool to highlight is that customers can do this themselves as far as managing their water use. They can go onto the online portal, look at their water use over a year, a month, a day, even down to the hours. So I believe what's shown on the chart there is daily, but if you can pretend like that was hourly, and the dip would kind of represent midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., when typically there's no water use. But that's how much they can drill in and see their water usage, understand how much their irrigation is using. But to actually not have to check that daily to know what you're using, you can turn on your leak alerts. So you can, if you have continuous usage over a 24-hour period, leak alert will be pushed via email or text to the customer. Same thing if you want a billing threshold, set your threshold at $100. If your bill's gonna go over that, you'll get a text or an email. Same on consumption. So there's different ways that people can configure this. And if you come across anybody who just can't figure it out, they can always call the office and we can walk them through it. So just wanted to talk about other items we're doing out throughout the water district. So I think a couple of years ago when I gave an update here, might have been 2019, we were working on going electronic with everything, paperless. We succeeded. We did that through the pandemic. So all of our work orders, customer service orders were all paperless in between office and field. And the backdrop map that you see there is actually representing service orders that we've gone through just this year. And so sometimes you'll see individual pin dots. Sometimes it's a circle and it'll say 20. It's just because it's too dense to show what all the different pin drops. But we're out there. These are over 1,000 different work orders, service orders, conservation activities that we've done within the city of Oakley proper. And these represent anything from backflow testing to main lines and service line breaks, work orders, valve maintenance, hydrant maintenance. And the last one, it's not posted or there's no dots for it yet, but it's something we're gonna be focusing on this fall, is hydrant flushing. And that's something that we anticipate that we'll take phone calls over. I'm sure the city's office will take some phone calls over of why is the district out there flushing water out of hydrants? It's for water safety. You're supposed to do it every so many years. But the first slug of water that comes out, is some council members know, is not always the cleanest looking water, even though it's still safe and is okay. So we'll work with your city manager on any messaging we put out to make sure you guys are well prepared. Again, when it comes to sources of information, everybody looks to the statewide newspaper to get kind of the governor's executive orders when it comes to drought, but we always push people to local information is always the best information. And we try to see stuff on Nextdoor. We don't always see it. So we definitely respond back on Facebook, but staying local is your best source of information for water supply here. And then last slide, just looking forward, projects that we have slated for this year. Again, with our resiliency push that we've been working on, we got through and finished the foundation retrofit on a 5 million gallon reservoir up on the hill, up above Laurel in that direction on the Antioch Hill there. And we're going to continue doing seismic retrofits. So then seismic events is up to full seismic code and it doesn't shift, lift, displace, or anything like that. We're also engineering phase right now, a second pipeline down from those tanks, so that we're not just on one feed going up and going down from those tanks. And again, that's for resiliency. We've got solar installations happening up in that location. About an acre of solar is going to be going in probably in early next year. That won't be visible from down here. It'll all be hidden behind the berms. There's no visual impacts. New Corporation Yard. If you haven't seen it, I'm sure you can see it from Main Street there. We should be done with it early spring. I should just rephrase that. Spring of next year is kind of our target. And again, that'll be an all-electric facility with all solar offset on that building as well. And again, working with backup generators, trying to get additional generators for power, public safety power shutoffs, or seismic events, anything else that could disrupt the power and needing water. And then the last one that's not specifically to Oakley, but it's something you might hear in the community, is we've been approached by water mutuals along San Mountain Boulevard out on the East Cypress corridor, and they have some water exceedance issues on water quality. So we're working with them to try to get them consolidated into the Diablo Water District system. And again, that's voluntary. We are there as a backstop, and we're trying to get 100% grant funding for this. So that's something that we're aspiring to for both Sand Mound and anybody on Bethel Island. And that is it.
Are there any questions for Dan? Councilmember Fuller.
Yes, you mentioned we're going to have a 20% reduction in water for residential in the next 10 years. How are you going to measure that? In other words,
Next 7 years.
7 years, okay. But some of us about homes that are already the low pressure toilets, the low, just about all at the minimum now. How are you going? Are they going to be in the same categories? Those, say, in the older neighborhoods, or?
No, that's a good question. That question always comes up in periods of drought, when the state will say reduce 20%. Some customers will have to reduce 30, 40%, while somebody that's already been efficient might have to reduce 5%, or they've already done everything they can do. So we're going to be developing programs, and it's not going to be a targeted. We're not targeting customer by customer. Again, we're going to solve it as a community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Dan, I do like that you guys are calling like when there's water leaks. When you're seeing it spike, a customer spike, you guys are being proactive in calling. So it helps.
Thank you.
It's helped us. Any other questions? Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Update from nonprofit, 1.4, update from nonprofits awarded American Rescue Plan Act, state and local recovery grant funds. First up is Joey Ogo, Director, CFO, Be Exceptional. I don't see Joey. Next up is Jeanette Kennedy, Executive Director, Development External Relations, Loaves and Fishes of Contra Costa.
Good evening. Great, thank you. So thank you so much for inviting me, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. I'm Jeanette Kennedy. I'm the Executive Director of Loaves and Fishes of Contra Costa, and here to thank you all for the support that we received for our mission. And if you aren't familiar with us, point it down. Oh, down button. Okay, not forward. Sorry, thank you. Our mission at Loaves and Fishes is to provide community-based food programs and partner services that focus on basic needs. We nourish lives. And I'm going to play a short video to kind of give you an understanding. And this picture right here is actually from our Oakley dining room, which is just a couple miles down the road on Main Street, if you are not familiar with where we're located.
Loaves and Fishes of Contra Costa began in 1983 and is a community-based nonprofit organization providing hot and nutritious meals and groceries to anyone in need. No questions asked. Currently, Loaves and Fishes is serving more than 2,400 meals per day from its 5 dining rooms located in Antioch, Martinez, Oakley, Pittsburgh, and Walnut Creek, and its new mobile unit serving partner agencies in East County. Food insecurity is growing in our community, and Loaves and Fishes serves a diverse group of people, including caregivers, young families, seniors, homeless, and neighbors feeding neighbors. The only way Loaves and Fishes can continue to serve the community is through the generosity of its donors and volunteers. We are grateful for your support.
So many people ask, why Loaves and Fishes? Why do we exist? What are we doing in the community? And what I like to tell people is that Loaves and Fishes truly believes that no one should be hungry in Contra Costa County, and that's why we're here. We began in 1983, so we've been in the county for almost 40 years now, and it was because 2 local residents, Pauline and Lucy, saw a family rummaging through a dumpster, and they just couldn't believe it. This is their community. They wanted to do something, so they did. The first day that they provided meals, they provided 26 out of the trunk of their car. And now we are an organization that is serving 2,400 meals per day. As many of you may know, that 1 in 6 people living in Contra Costa County are food insecure, and that's 1 too many. If you look around this room, people behind me, that means that there are several folks in here who don't know where their next meal will come from, and that's something that we want to mitigate. There's more than 2,300 people living in Contra Costa County who are homeless. 70% were unsheltered when this point in time count took place. And since the pandemic, Loaves and Fishes is serving 4 times the number of meals we were serving beforehand. So that is why Loaves and Fishes exists. So just to give you kind of an overview, we've served more than 5.9 million meals. Like I said, we're serving 2,400 hot meals per day. And that's from the 5 dining rooms located in the county. 1 here in Oakley that we received funds to help support. We've got another dining room in Antioch, Martinez, Pittsburgh, and in Walnut Creek in the Trinity Center. We had to go, like many restaurants, completely, grab and go style when the pandemic hit. So we are slowly getting back, even though I know that this all happened 3 years ago. We are now providing hybrid service. So that is for the number of folks who that we found out wouldn't have normally come in and sat in our dining room and had indoor dining with us. These are families with young children, people who are low income and have a place to go. And so they come and grab those meals and take them home with them. And they may be feeding a homebound neighbor or other. So we are transitioning to hybrid service. So we're opening the dining rooms for indoor dining and also providing the service for people who could grab and go and take it with them. So Pittsburgh and Walnut Creek are already serving hybrid, and Martinez is next. That'll be next week. It's going to open up hybrid, and then Antioch, and then out here in Oakley will be the final dining room to open to indoor and provide hybrid service. We are the only daily hot meal program in the county. And because of the pandemic response, we were able to provide weekend meals, only unfortunately at the 2 largest dining rooms that we have right now that are serving. So those 7 are serving 7 days a week, and those are Martinez and Pittsburgh. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the impact here specifically in Oakley. I told you guys, so we're at 1403 Main Street, not too far from here, and that's where people come Monday through Friday for a hot and nutritious meal and groceries. And so that number actually, and I apologize, it's actually 39,545. When I sent this on Friday, I neglected to update that. That's how many hot and nutritious meals we served last year here in Oakley. And we provided 20,000 pounds of groceries. So that's a lot of food and a lot of meals and a lot of people we're serving. What is unique about Loaves and Fishes is there's no requirement, there's no intake, we don't ask any questions, everyone is welcome. So anyone can come to our doors and get a meal and get groceries and hopefully help them make ends meet and do with their income other things that may be necessary, like rent and medical supplies. So I did mention this already earlier. In October, the Oakley Dining Room is going to open up to indoor dining and be serving hybrids moving forward. So part of what we learned recently is that there are more people in need that aren't able to get to one of those 5 dining rooms that we currently have. And so we have invested, and there are community members who have helped us purchase a mobile unit. It's not a food truck. It's a food truck style vehicle because we don't do any cooking on the vehicle. All of the meals are still consistently made, and so for quality, at our local central kitchen, which is in Pittsburgh, and then it's loaded onto the truck. And right now that is serving at 2 pilot partners, Delta Landing, which is in Pittsburgh, and West Pittsburgh Community Church. But we currently have a list of 11 potential new partners, and that's so that this vehicle can go where people are, where they might be receiving other services, and also be able to provide them with a meal. So you will probably hear more about that as this just started earlier this year. And to round out our mission of feeding people in need, we've also extended that to a workforce development program. So we have a 12-week free culinary arts training program. And what we do is provide students with 144 hours of culinary training. They get hands-on experience. We help them with resume building. And we also have MOUs with local restaurants and employers to provide them with job placement. So this is a really wonderful program that we're extremely proud of, so that not only are we feeding people in need, but also helping them find a way to feed themselves. This is just a full picture of the indoor space of the Oakley dining room here. And that's all I have.
Are there any questions? Vice Mayor Williams?
Could you let us know the hours that people can get to that in Oakley?
Yes. So we serve from 11 to 12:45 Monday through Friday. And if you go to our website will list every location, directions to how to get there, and the service hours.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so
Sure.
much.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the support. Appreciate it.
Welcome. Robin Ryder, founder, president, No Paws Left Behind Kitty Rescue.
Good evening, everybody. How are you all? I'd like to say thanks to our former and present staff members. Last year, we were one of the honored recipients of the ARPA money. And I just want to give you a recap of how we spent the money and how busy we were. Our goal was to spay and neuter 85 cats and adopt out 90. We definitely did that. We actually spayed and neutered 139 and adopted out 87, a little bit short. Out of the 85 that we spayed and neutered, roughly 55 of those cats were females. 55 females having 1 litter is about 275 cats unwanted in the city that we were able to save. keeping them out of the city businesses and inundating the residents. Thanks to the money, it actually helped us get on board with some of our community members. We got some new fosters. We were able to educate a lot more of the public as to why it's so important to keep your animals safe and fixed and in the house and that sort of thing. We also got a new partnership with one of the PetSmarts, and that was all because of the grant money. So, I just want to say thank you. I'm kind of rambling, going in circles, but do you guys have any questions for me?
Are there any questions? Vice Mayor Williams?
So the ARPA funding was one-time funding. So what's your plan to sort of come up with that? Because that are obviously big numbers.
Yes. So what we did was we figured out with the $15,000 that was given and with the 85 cats that we were able to fix and vaccinate, that was about $176 per animal. So as a rescue, as a nonprofit, what we do is we do fundraisers, we do yard sales, we do T-shirt campaigns. We're not stopping anytime soon. The city definitely needs help, and we're here to help them. So,
Any other questions? So how did you go about those 85 cats? People bring them to you? Were they trapped?
it was a combination of both. One of the things we emphasized with this money was doing a lot of TNR, which is trap, neuter, and return. We did quite a few big jobs. One off of Delta Road in Oakley. We've taken out 25 cats. Only 3 of those cats were not pregnant. So that in itself is big. We have council or community members that will actually contact us, whether it's through our social media, our webpage, word of mouth, asking for help. You know, they've got a cat they need help getting fixed, or they've got kittens they found in the yard, which is extremely common. If we have a foster, then we take care of them, and we supply all the medical, we supply all the food, everything from start to finish. And then we put them up for adoption.
I have a neighbor that feeds feral cats, and she's had kittens there, and there's probably 10 plus cats.
Yeah, it's one thing to feed them, but if you can't get them fixed, then don't feed them.
She doesn't understand why they stay around.
Give her my card. I'll help her.
Leave your card, please.
I will. I'll definitely do that. Thank you again for the opportunity. It means a lot to us that you entrusted us with this money.
Thank you. Maribel Mendoza, co-founder and executive director, Yoste del Campo.
Hello, Council. Hi. And also, Dorina Moreira, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, Dorina Moreira. I'm one of the co-founders and the program director. Good evening.
Yes, and I'm Maribel Mendoza with Hijas del Campo. Met you a couple of meetings down. And yeah, we have a presentation today. We just want to start off by saying thank you to the council for supporting us in this way, especially with the ARPA funds. This came at a very needed time for our farm working community. Hijas del Campo, we started during the pandemic because there really wasn't another organization that was out here working with the farm working community and the farm workers themselves. And so that's why it was absolutely crucial and important for us to step in. And we quickly realized that there wasn't an organization that was just focused on the farm workers. We're not talking about the farm owners. We're talking about those people who are tending to the land and to the plants. So our Oakley Campesino Support Program, we received the funds in October of 2022, and this ran through June of 2023. And so this was the ARPA funds that we got from you all. Oh, sorry, I did not even see this.
Down.
Okay. Thank you. So our mission as an organization is to help migrant and seasonal farm workers and their families improve their daily lives. Our vision is a community where campesinos are thriving. We wanted to highlight here in our general plan the absolute, one of the things Far East County in general does, but I think that Oakley, we are really proud of our ag land. And I just wanted to make sure that we highlighted that here within our general plan. And maybe I got an older one, but the importance of it. The way that we did this, we wanted to be able to support the community members that lived in Oakley that are farm workers. And we set eligibility requirements around this. And so what this was, they had to be a resident of Oakley. And then it was also a campesino who worked through the year and could not work or had their hours reduced because of the slow season or because they were impacted because of COVID, either them or a family member that they lived with here in Oakley. A big thing that we saw was how the BIPOC community in general was affected by COVID the worst, but also campesinos who live in multi-generational homes, who a lot of them don't really have access to things like sick pay or paid time off if a family member was sick or if they were sick themselves. So we saw that they were obviously getting sick and not having the opportunity to get either the correct information. So we're talking access to COVID-19 information. We're also talking increased mortality rates. We saw a lot of this within our community. And also just barriers to information, right? What is COVID and how do we protect ourselves during this time, even if we have to go to work, those types of things.
Okay, we are very humbled and grateful to be able to provide these services to our campesino neighbors. Through the funds, we were able to distribute, to do food distribution to at least 29 families living in Oakley on a monthly basis, but that also included about 90 adults and 53 children. Most of our families that we work with live in multi-generational homes, so it's just one family, but it could be grandparents, uncles, cousins, they all live together. And that included essentials such as basic house goods, shampoos, soap, deodorants, basic needs that we need. In addition, we were able to provide direct rental and utility assistance given to 2 families who were facing eviction, and then one that was facing utility shut-off during the winter storms. And these were paid directly to the landlords and PG&E, including John D. Firmly, ASM Investment Properties. In addition, we used some of the funds to provide supplies and distribute to farm workers out in the fields within the Oakley city limits. And that included waters, masks, PPE, COVID test, and food. We were also able to use some of the cost to support our campesino students, so the children of campesinos. And we were able to do that by providing a career exploration event, which we held at the Oakley Recreational Center. And during this event, we were able to provide workshops, which included interactive activities with professionals within the community. And our goal was to connect students with professionals and really get them, exploring different career paths outside of the fields. We were able to distribute health information to community members and partner with such programs such as Contra Costa Cares, Catholic Charities of the East Bay, and the Contra Costa Health Department. And also, we had tabling from Tesla, the Conservation District, Contra Costa Regional Resource, John Muir Health, the Fire Department. It was a really fun day for the students. We provided 3 vaccine clinics, where we were able to get the county to come out and provide vaccines for COVID to the community. And we also used some of the funds to support distribution of food. A lot of the campesinos due to their work hours, some of them are elderly, they're not able to come out to our food distribution, so we were bringing food out to them directly to their homes.
So when we talk about our project impact, already this year we've grown 30% from where we were from last year with families. And so that just goes to show how much the need is there here in Oakley, but also just in Far East Contra Costa as well. So our project impact is nutritional support provided to over 100 residents of Oakley, and this means increasing health and overall well-being for them, and really looking at how we're limiting exposure as well for them. We're talking direct assistance. So this is emergency support that prevented 3 families with children from being evicted and having their utilities shut off. We're talking over 30 people vaccinated against COVID. We did a couple of the clinics at the rec center, which was great. And that was during the holiday season where we were also able to get them food and get the kids toys. You know, with a limited income, parents don't have the funds to make it a very Merry Christmas. So we were able to help with that, which was really beautiful. And again, making sure that they have the appropriate and correct information. COVID time, we saw a lot of misinformation out there, and then a lot of the playing of the telephone game. You know, one person says one thing, and then it goes off into another thing. And so we were really making sure that we were communicating with both La Clinica and John Muir Health and getting the correct up-to-date information on what was happening within our community here in Oakley. So some of the lessons learned, there was a lot of lessons learned throughout these months. Of course, Hijas del Campo was born out of the COVID pandemic, but we wanted to sort of figure out how do we connect to our campesino community and really be a trusted source for them for this information. One-time direct financial assistance, what does this mean? And how can we help people before they get to the eviction side of things, and how they can really come to us in a trusted way, because what comes with that is like also a lot of insecurities from themselves, and a lot of stress that is very difficult on the whole family. And so really also, how do we help the community in general here within Oakley? And so opening up our doors whenever we can. So for example, our Career Exploration Day event, we really opened up our doors, not just to our campesino kids, but also to kids within the city, just so that way they know that we're here for them. If we could, we would help all of the kids and families on a regular basis, but we're very blessed that there are other amazing organizations in the community. So I can ramble on as well sometimes. We're really excited about the future plans that we have going here with Hijas del Campo, with the support of, Anissa too, which is great. But we have our Despensa program that is still running, and that's our food program. We partner with Mixteca, which is a market here, who lets families come to pick up their bags of food there, because we don't have a brick and mortar just yet as an organization. We still help with the bill assistance program. I think everybody has talked about the weather and how it's really unpredictable. One year we're in a drought, and then next we're like seeing these crazy storms, which have an impact on the farms and the yields, and so that means also their work. And we still have our education program, so we're going to be doing our career event here in Oakley again this upcoming year, which we're really excited about. So that's going to be in 2024. Yeah, these projects have really been pillars for us, and so that the funds have been really just amazing. I'm so sorry. And yeah, we left recommended links. So if you guys want to just see some more information, some documentaries talking about our farm working community to really understand what it is that they're going through, we will leave that with you. And then if anybody wants to continue helping and supporting, COVID is not gone, and the plight of our farm workers here in the city of Oakley, they still need support. Am I missing anything, or did I ramble on too much?
You did good. Thank you. Is there any questions, Council? Councilmember Fuller?
Yes, in your distribution, you were in Oakley, but where was the concentration? Was there any particular concentration area, say the southeast or northwest, or where did you find this?
Of our Oakley residents, where they're living,
Right.
They're kind of, what's the street, like off of, by the school? Like by-
O'Hara?
Yes.
Yes, so I don't know if this is northeast.
But we're all over. Yeah, it's not like one space that we're concentrated in. We're pretty much all over the city of Oakley. So.
Thank you. Thank you for what you've done.
Vice Mayor Williams?
I mean, I'm a little bit, I have some insight into this, but for the benefit of everybody. So obviously these programs cost a lot. What's your plan? I know nobody fundraises more than you guys and does all kinds of things, but maybe just for the general audience, like give us an idea of how many different fundraising activities you guys are doing. I'm talking about backpack drives, hygiene drives, like all of that stuff. Plus, how can other people, like, all the different monetary fundraising that happens too.
Yeah, we generally like to raise funds and get donations from the community. So, for example, we did just have our back to school drive where we collected backpacks and just everything that has to do with like the student, because we know how expensive it is for our kids. We do that. We're coming up on our Halloween costume drive. So if anybody wants to donate, we're collecting new costumes for our kids because we don't just want to take care of the things that we absolutely need, but we also want to bring the joy into our kids' lives and to their families. And so we do that as well. We are very blessed in the fact that, the Community Health Fund is a big supporter of ours and really helped us get to where we are today, and really looking at Oakley, looking at Far East County and the agriculture that we have here and how beautiful it is, and the people that tend to it. So they want to make sure that we can help keep that going. So, yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you Joey? So Joey Ogo, Director, CFO, be exceptional.
Apologize for being late. I was teaching a class and got out there a little bit late. It was for Oakley. It was a skateboarding class. I appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you today to express how thankful Be Exceptional is to work with the city of Oakley. We work with Brentwood, Pittsburgh, Antioch, and we really honestly appreciate working with Oakley the best. Like we always talk about in our board meetings, how we hold you to, you guys have created a higher standard as far as working with cities, and we appreciate that genuinely. So we serve several Oakley residents who attend our programs, recreational classes, and social events at our different locations. And we have been partnering directly with Oakley Parks and Recreation to have various classes, including skateboarding, tumbling, gymnastics, dance, and biddy sports, which we have t-ball, basketball, soccer, and flag football for ages 4 to 7. The grant we received from you guys was for $8,000, and we appreciate it so much. It enabled us to get our own location. And that has allowed us to grow our program significantly. We can, in our physical location, we have a sensory room, which is a great, it's a space where people can really we also have social groups in that space also. So it's a space for people to grow, for them to be able to deal with the senses. We're a inclusive program, so we deal with people who have disabilities and people who don't. Most of our classes are inclusive. That's our goal, is to have them all inclusive, but sometimes, enrollment is just people with disabilities, and, we deal with that. So yeah, we have, by having our own location, we've been able to consolidate our schedule and expand our work with the Parks and Recreation here in Oakley. We're proud to have increased the volume of Oakley residents in the last year by 123 in total, since we were awarded the grant. Our goal is 100, and we were able to exceed that. We're really proud and grateful to you guys, for enabling us to do that. And the impact that's been able to have, we measured that. We did an online survey. And, the questions, we asked just 5 simple questions. Do you know anyone in Oakley area that has disabilities? We asked them before, when we first received the grant, and then right before the report was due. And they were all like, so I'll just read through them. Do you know anyone in Oakley area that has disabilities? It was yes, 81.6% at the beginning, and then at the end it was 83.2%, so that's a slight increase. And then, do you know of any programs that help support people with disabilities in the Oakley area? And at the beginning it was a yes, 18.4%, and then at the end it was a yes, 56.3%. So that's really huge. And then I asked, do you feel comfortable in the presence of people with disabilities? It was yes, 100% before and after. That's understandable. And would you volunteer at a program that provides support to people with disabilities in Oakley? I got yes at the beginning, 87.8%, and then at the end, 89.2%. And then, do you think having a program in Oakley community that supports people with disabilities is impactful to everyone in the community? I got a yes, 95.9%, and then a yes, 96.3%. So that was just a simple survey I sent out online and had just, people answer. And then, so I'd really like to highlight the increase on question 2, because it's astonishing that you guys were able to increase the amount of people who now know that there's, that we can help people. You guys have done that. And yeah, it's just, it's awesome. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there any questions? Vice Mayor Williams?
I'll ask the same question that I asked. How do you plan to sustain the needed funds, right? I mean, obviously you guys run great programs.
Yeah, so with the increase of, that was just the Oakley people, and we've had an increase in general. That makes it completely sustainable. And we are also actually looking to grow into a new location too. So we are just continuing to grow.
Awesome, I love
Thank
it.
you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Where are you located?
We're in downtown Antioch.
Okay, no other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Item 1.5, presentation, Oakley Chamber of Commerce. Oakley Chuko.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, esteemed council members, staff, and residents of Oakley. My name is Oakley Chuko, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here in a capacity of the interim president of newly reestablished Oakley Chamber of Commerce. But before we will launch into the future, I believe it's really important to acknowledge the institutional weight and in the past of this great organization. It actually starts in its very first iteration all the way in 1947 and goes to 1974, taking a short decade off and re-emerging in 1985 to serve our ever-changing community here for over 3 decades. During this time, city becomes a cityhood, and businesses are built and growing and thriving and expanding. And after taking just a brief hiatus, we are excited to talk to you tonight about our vision. And I'm not gonna lie, we have a pretty ambitious vision, but yet it's actually very simple. We really would like to create um, create in Oakley a place where businesses on a delta can thrive, businesses of all sizes, and really expand our community as a whole. In fact, this vision is very similar to the vision that Mayor Meadows highlighted in his speech at the beginning of the year. We must make Oakley a destination where consumers can come, spend their money, and also businesses can thrive, right? By creating opportunities for those same consumers to spend their money here in Oakley. So this lofty goal cannot be achieved just by ourselves. You need a little bit of help from your friends. And tonight I would like to acknowledge that Economic Development Department, under the direction of Harumi Murata, has been doing exceptional work in the last several years when Chamber was in its hiatus. They've been very instrumental in launching several very effective initiatives. Of, one example is right across the street, our Entrepreneur Center, right? So we do believe that it is extremely important not to compete with the services that city already provides for our business community, and we are extremely grateful that City of Oakley is aggressively, in the best sense of this word, pro-business, all right? So instead of competing with all of the amazing services, we'd really like to perhaps complete, or if I may, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Really complement the amazing work you guys are doing here. So just by looking at the current numbers, right, we have 921 registered businesses here in town. Over half of those businesses are home-based. We also have 182 registered nonprofits, of whom we had just a few really great examples. A lot of these nonprofits have amazing missions, and we do believe that by looking at these changing fabric of commerce and business, it is important to also change a little bit how we do things a little bit differently, right? To be the destination, you have to stand out, and to stand out, you have to break the mold. So Oakley Chamber would like to step away a little bit from the traditional model of chambers of commerce, right? Step away a little bit from the monthly mixers or weekly mixers, step away from complex governance, and really become just like more of the businesses we actually will be serving here, right? So be agile, dynamic, act as a startup, and really focus on bringing our members value, right? So as you saw, there's a lot of incredible nonprofits here, a lot of amazing home-based businesses, 547 of them. Some of the things we'd like to see in this new chapter for Oakley Chamber is to give them a little bit of more exposure, right? Also giving them opportunity to join this great organization. We have created several tailored membership plans, right? So for instance, for just $10 a month, and that's right, $10 a month, this is like your Spotify membership, right? You can join this chamber and have access to many great assets and tools that we'll be providing. One of them would be something like, we call it Business Pulse Check. It's an opportunity for us to meet with businesses here in town one-on-one on quarterly basis and help them to go through their challenges, their successes, and opportunities for the future. And all of this, of course, cannot be achieved without community collaboration. So we mentioned a little bit working together with the city, but it is also about working with other chambers and many nonprofits and organizations in our county. we do believe that every success that Oakley can nurture and build here will ultimately reflect on the whole Delta. And, really, we'd love to share some more of our ideas, but I think it's even more so important to hear from our business community, to hear from you, and to hear from residents of Oakley. So the following Wednesday, September 20th at 6 p.m., right here at the Oakley Council Chambers, would like to invite you to come and share with us your thoughts, your vision for this new endeavor. And we'd really like to have a dialogue with our business community that night. So having the opportunity, I really would like to once again show appreciation for the amazing work City of Oakley has been doing to help business community here in town. Everyone from our economic development department to the city manager to staff, and of course past and current councils. Thank you all for doing this, and we look forward to working with you in making a prosperous business community here on the Delta.
Thank you. What time on next?
6 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for Oleski? Councilmember Fuller?
Yeah, it's not so much a question, but I'm glad that you are happy, want to recognize that you're recognizing nonprofits in the community and supporting them. So I want to extend that thanks to you, along with what you're doing with the businesses.
Thank you, Councilmember Fuller. We truly believe that nonprofits should not be neglected in this future vision, and that's the only way we can be actually successful, by working together as a community.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Item 2, public comments. At this time, public comments will be heard for items not on the agenda. I have some public speaker cards submitted. To submit a public comment, please complete a blue speaker card located in the lobby and submit to the city clerk. The time limit to speak is 3 minutes. The time limit is monitored by the timer located in front of the mayor's seat. When 1 minute remains on the timer, it will beep once as a reminder to complete comments before your time expires. Please refrain from any applause, cheering, booing, or other outbursts so that everyone may have an opportunity to be heard. Note that due to provisions of state law, the council may not engage in dialogue regarding comments. Staff may be directed to respond to persons making public comments. I have public comments that were submitted online that will be entered into the record. And then I have Lauren Stone. Okay. Michael Dupre.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mike Dupre. I'm a resident of Oakley over on Almaden Court. On behalf of the residents of the Oaks, the seniors, and all others suffering there, I'd like to thank again City Council Member Shannon Shaw and the City Code Enforcement for their swift and effective response to the serious problem at the Oaks, and also for the City Council for Agenda Item 5.2. And the rest of this is pretty much for the owners and the management at the Oaks. Just because the buildings at the Oaks are subsidized for low and fixed incomes, no one should be subjected to the serious foul living conditions there. As seen in Building 59, the roach infestation at 53 indicates a serious lack of concern by the owners enjoying the fruits of their exploitative investments. I've observed many roaches there. I've toured the building extensively. I've been into some of the residents' homes and looked, even in broad daylight, roaches. They keep giving me videos of roaches when they turn the lights on now, even after the places have been sprayed or fumigated. Maintenance has done very little to patch holes in the wall where plumbing was in, for example, their laundry rooms. Their garbage rooms are horrible. They're a big mess. The halls are filthy. The stairwells are filthy. The state did an inspection a couple of weeks ago, and they did determine there is a roach infestation, but that report hasn't come out yet. It'll be about 45 days. All of those buildings should be evacuated, the residents relocated, the buildings fumigated and professionally decontaminated at the owner's expense, and they really need to shut that place down. It's a disaster area. Thank you.
Thank you. But Chadek, I'm assuming you are on 2? Okay. Next up is Lisa Gonzalez.
Hello, council members. I'm here today to talk a little bit of some things I've seen online about, say, Emerson Park, the little lakes and ponds that are there. I brought to attention a couple of times about toxic algae blooms that were there. I have a gentleman named Spencer Fern that would come out and probably do a water sample, and it's sent off to Santa Cruz. I don't think at any cost to the city. There was a big fish die off there. I saw the pictures. And mostly bluegill, a couple look like 5-pound bass, which anybody'd love to catch. I know there's some discrepancy or whether or not there should be fish or not. Well, nature does its thing. You know, ducks will pick up moss. There'll be fertilized eggs in it. It's only, a few hundred yards from there. They can drop them in there, they hatch. I mean, things like that happens, and you're not going to stop that. I mean, that's just the progression of things. That's why we have such invasive species problems all over the United States right now, too. So that's another issue you got to look at. I do feel that it needs to be aerated like it was. Evidently, it was shut off for a while. Look at Contra Loma Reservoir, constantly aerated, constantly. Massive pumps there. And there's a reason for that. It's to keep the water oxygenated. Whether there's fish or not, there's going to be frogs, say amphibians, maybe salamanders, turtles, whatever gets in there, they're going to get in there. It's just going to happen. And, the thing in the toxicity, say, of these HABs that get in there and whatnot, it's going to affect people's dogs. You don't want a little kid going in there and playing and getting a rash. I do know some people at East Bay Regional Park that have gotten rashes from the river to where they had to have antibiotics. So this is even worse from what I saw. So the other thing I want to throw in there, my wife and I have been to Montana, and there's been small lakes like that could be making it into a positive. The thing is there, they leave it to just children with a small pier and people with disabilities, and they stock them. But that's it. You have to show that you have one and or the other. A parent can be with the child, but the child has to fish, not the parent might cast it out for them or something. That's it. Very strictly enforced there, works there. Their ponds are clean. Matter of fact, if anybody throws a piece of trash on it, they hand them a bag and the police will have them say, you have to pick this up. So there is a big difference. It can be made into a positive the way I look at it that way too. So, before any more of these are built, I think some of these need to start to be taken care of in a better manner for better use for everybody there, especially when they pay $750,000 to $1 million for these houses. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Gonzalez. Next up is Oak Johnson.
Hi, members. Thank you. Before I start complaining, I mean suggesting, I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for the new chairs. They're so comfortable.
But you still got your cushion.
Yes, I'm getting there. So I really want to suggest that on Main Street, on the way to, the freeway, all of us commuters, that when you cut down the street to one lane, I wish you would seriously consider putting arrows to let them know that there's one lane. Because in the morning, it's like, the regular commuters know, but I'd really like you to think about that because they're just stuck there. They're all trying to get in. It's just accidents waiting to happen. So I'd like you to consider that, please. Arrows. We're all in one lane now. Thank you.
Thank you. I just tell whoever's driving to get over. I think I butchered your name.
You got it right.
Oh, okay.
Good evening. My name is Oak Johnson, and I'm the Executive Vice President for Wynn Residential, an affordable housing operator in California, providing third-party management services to the owners of the Oaks. The Oaks consists of 9 individual buildings totaling 509 units with more than 2,500 residents. As a housing operator, we strive to do our best every day with the resources and tools we have to provide safe, well-maintained, affordable housing to this community. Over the last several weeks, there have been much public discussion about pest control at this community. I can assure you we take pest control very seriously. We know from experience that pest control problems are not eradicated in one treatment, nor are they solved in isolation from other factors like housekeeping, the ability to effectively treat units, the condition of surrounding apartments, abutting properties or undeveloped land, or the pest itself. Pest control takes time to be effective. It also takes cooperation and partnership of the residents. Specific to the Oaks, pest control is performed twice a month on individual apartments, the interior common areas, and the building exterior. This year, the management staff has inspected over 509 units, and all of the units identified with pest issues are slated for treatment and will remain on the treatment list until our vendor tells us those treatments have been successful. Just last month, 56 apartments were inspected and determined to need treatment. 42 had requested treatment, and the other 14 were identified as needing treatment. Unfortunately, 19 of those 56 households either denied entry to the vendor or did not cooperate with the preparation of the service, which means that the pest control cannot be effectively administered. In cases where chronic housekeeping issues are contributing to the pest issues or residents refuse to cooperate with control measures, we have and will continue to initiate eviction proceedings against households who have consistently refused to cooperate. We take this approach because if one household refuses treatment, it contributes to the pest issues for the entire community. We continue to urge all residents to report maintenance issues, including pest issues, to the management staff so that they can be addressed promptly. We cannot address individual concerns that have not been reported to us. In fact, we provide online, telephone, and in-person channels for residents to request maintenance and pest control services. We evaluate and adjust our operations as needed to meet the demands of an operating community because we take our mission and responsibilities seriously. I want to be clear that we hear, understand, and appreciate the concerns expressed by our residents, and we have raised the bar of expectations for our staff. We ask that the residents work with us as active, constructive partners in this effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, John Gonzalez. No John Gonzalez? Okay. Item 3, consent calendar. Are there any items like to poll, or is there a motion to approve?
3.6 and 3.7, if you would, please. I'll move the rest.
For second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? 5-0. 3.6, review and adoption of 2023 Economic Development Work Plan. Rumi Murata, Economic Development Analyst. So is there a question, Councilmember Fuller?
I have a comment about two comments, but this is one. On page 2, under challenges, we list senior population growing, but that was struck on, but age 16 plus is growing at a much faster rate than the incoming talent pipeline under 19, which could indicate a future workforce shortage. Fortunately, Oakley employers can draw from a workforce of 1.2 million in a 30-mile radius. I'd just like to change it to take out the talent pipeline, I think. It's a subjective term. I mean, senior population is growing. We're targeting the senior population. We have over 55 residents going out in the Summer Lake area. Someday we'll go out there. We're growing. Not many are retiring. Many more are working than retiring after 60, even 70. So when we say the talent is under 19 and the people over 60 is a burden, I get a little bit, especially in my case, because I must be ancient. But in my situation, I mean that as a joke.
It was kind of funny.
So in other words, if we could just get away from the idea that talent pipeline, have it read, senior population is growing much faster than the incoming under age 19 population, which could indicate a future workforce shortage, which is correct. Fortunately, I don't know if the word fortunately needs to be in there, but Oakley employers can draw from the workforce of 1.2 million in the 30-mile radius, and I think that's okay. I don't know why we need to put fortunately.
So I'm okay with everything you just said, except that fortunately part too. And when I read it, I had a lot of the same thoughts. I didn't like the wording.
Do you want fortunately, or I'm there. On page 17.
So is everybody okay with that? Okay.
On page 17, under education, got to get all the way down there. The Contra Costa County, that's great. The way it's written, I like that. And Mayor Meadows brought it about, and I appreciate that. Under challenges, when we say the share of Oakley's population with higher education degrees is unimpressive, 18.6%. Fortunately, employers are able to draw workers from throughout the county, which reports 42% of the population over the age of 25 with a bachelor, graduate, or doctorate degree. I think we want to say you can go on it, I believe, Ann, but stop right there. If you stop right there, we are marginalizing those without higher degrees, and that bothers me. In other words, it becomes a subjective term without a subjective term unimpressive. And we marginalize them. Well, you're unimpressive because you don't have a higher degree, and I think that's marginalizing the people. I don't want to marginalize someone that didn't want to go on to college. If you have a high school degree, we can put 18.6% high school. But again, fortunately, the county has 42% higher degrees. That again marginalizes those and overemphasizes higher degrees, which I don't believe would be correct too. So if we could change it to the share of Oakley's population with higher education degrees is 18.6%. Employers are able to draw workers throughout the county, which reports 42% of the population over the age of 25 has a bachelor's, graduate, or doctorate degree, period. In other words, we have a workforce, we have a diversified workforce, this is who we are. Everybody's in here making a contribution, and I know we take out what I call glittering generalities. Fortunately, you have a higher degree. I'm not sure. I have a higher degree, but I'm not sure that puts me ahead of anybody else on that one. So That's what I like to change it to, if nobody has an objection.
Everybody okay with that?
Is that just to take out unimpressive and fortunately? Is that
Got what?
unimpressive? With after the degree is the higher education degree is unimpressive. He wanted to take that word out, and then also the fortunate that we have the ability to draw workers.
If you want,
Did you go?
No, I don't want to take that out. I think it's important that people know what our educational force is when they're making decisions.
Wait, no, she said just take out the unimpressive. The word
Unimpressive and fortunate.
fortunately.
Fortunately, right.
And yeah, I'm okay
Right.
with that.
Right. I'm sorry. Right. Thank you.
Councilmember Henderson, you good? Okay. Anything else?
I'll go ahead and move
Go for it.
as submitted with the changes.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
So much for feedback.
Item 3.7, approval of responses to civil grand jury report number 2306, affordable housing plan, a plan without a home. Mr. McMurray. Councilmember Fuller, it was,
Yes, I'm having to work through this. If you would give me a moment, our draft response under F9 is a concern of mine. F9 reads, I'm sorry, but we should have it right in front of me. In the draft response, F9 reads, down at the bottom, when local redevelopment agencies were discontinued by the state in 2012 and county and cities did not address the loss of funding the affordable housing or find alternative funding to support housing projects until voters passed Measure X in November 20th, projects that target very low or low income residents. That's great, but then we get down to the last couple of sentences. Voters need to approve virtually all new funding or financing mechanisms to generate revenues or funds needed to preserve existing affordable housing and construct or finance new affordable housing. The Board of Supervisors and town city councils cannot, for example, float bonds. What I think my concern is this will become a public document when it's there. It will go out. It'll be available to all. We have 1657, which we haven't made a position on, Senate Bill 555, the regional bonding, and it's a concern that we're going to lose some local control with those. We're not sure we're backing it. Yet we're saying we need bond money to sustain affordable housing. And I'm thinking, why can't we just say, stop right at the voters. State laws limits local jurisdictions' ability to create new funding sources, period. We don't have to go in that we need bonds or anything else. Just we have a limited means of creating money. We cannot create money. We can add that. Municipalities cannot arrange for financing of affordable housing and put a period, rather than saying we have to go up for a bond, because I can see somebody reaching down on a campaign and drawing it out saying, oh, Oakley says if you can get some bonds passed, like $20 million worth, they can go ahead and fill affordable housing. And I like this.
Try billion, not million.
What's that?
Try billion, not million. It's 20 billion.
So that's just my suggestion.
So you're saying ended at ability to create new funding sources, period?
Right. Voters need to remove that. Voters need to approve virtually all new funding or financing mechanisms to generate revenues or funds needed to preserve accessible affordable housing, et cetera.
Is there any other comments from council? Is there a motion?
I'll move with my changes.
Is there a second? Seeing no second.
I'll move it as presented to us by staff.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay. Item 4, public hearings. 4.1, adoption of the State of California Density Bonus Law. Repeal local density bonus regulations, Oakley Municipal Code Section 9.1.412, and replace with adoption of the state density bonus laws by reference. Mr. Strello.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. The item before you is for a zoning text amendment to repeal the existing state density bonus law ordinance in the Oakley zoning code and replace it with language that would essentially refer to the state density bonus law instead. State density bonus law is covered by government code sections 65915 to 65918. And our current code was adopted in 2010 through Ordinance 11-10. It does include a no conflict with state law towards the end of that ordinance. So over the years, while state law has been amended, our code may not have been updated in time with it. However, any applications that would come in would still be subject to state law. This came about through a collaboration abbreviated as C4, and it's hosted by MIG Consultants, and it is funded through REAP funding. I sit on as a participant in these meetings. They're once a month, and some discussions came up about the number of state laws that are coming forward, especially related to planning practice, and ideas to come up with some ordinances that cities may look at to want to adopt. This was the first one. The state density bonus law was the first one that the C4 collaborative came up with, sent out to the cities. We decided it would be a good idea to bring this forward. This is just some history on the state density bonus law. It was initially enacted in 1976. Essentially, it requires agencies, cities, or counties to allow for an increase of density depending on the type of development a developer may do on a property. There are different density allowances depending on the affordability of the product being built and what percentage of the total product that affordability makes up. The law has had several updates. There are a couple of attachments to your staff report that show updates that have happened, I think, since 2019 up to recently, and then sort of what's in the docket for the near future. And as you can see, I think there's over 10 that have happened in the last couple of years, and there's a handful that are coming down the pipe. So the idea here is, let's just get this over with. We'll update our code to comply with state law. When the state law updates, our code automatically updates with it, and we won't have to come forward and try to keep up with yearly updates to all these different sections of our code. So essentially, that's it in a nutshell. And the Planning Commission did hold a hearing on this in August, recommended the City Council approve this ordinance. And one other thing to point out is this would implement one of the actions in our newly adopted housing element, Action 1.6. It would actually go above and beyond what the action requires. The action requires that we keep our density bonus law in step with state law, and we would be doing that for here on out until something in the state law changes drastically that we would need to change. It also complies with the Oakley Strategic Plan 27 plus. By doing this density bonus law, ensuring that we are in compliance with the state density bonus law, that will only serve to assist developers in doing these projects in the future, which would hopefully bring us units that could count towards our regional housing needs allocation. This is an exempt project under the California Environmental Quality Act. It establishes and clarifies administrative processes. There's really no project or physical project to speak of here. And with that, My staff report is concluded. I'm happy to answer any questions. Staff does recommend the City Council waive the first reading and introduce this ordinance.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council? Seeing none, this time we'll open the public hearing. I have no speaker cards on this item. Is there anybody wishing to speak on it? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Deliberation of the council. Councilmember Fuller.
Yes, this particular item is one of the reasons why I'm concerned about 1657, SB 555, and others coming out of the Assembly this year or out of the legislature and in the past. Here, the state is coming down and redefining our density, has been coming down, redefining our density. And when you read 1657, there is a clause in there where just a short A, B, C, but they can change change requirements for affordable housing, and this is how eventually the state works itself way in on SB 9. So I'm going to go ahead and vote for the item. I think staff needs to have the guidelines, and it's pretty well dictated, but I think people need to know that this is one example of how the state continues to come down and dictate how we're going to use our land, which is disconcerting to me and I think many others.
Thank you.
Any other comments, deliberation? Councilmember Shaw?
So to me, this looks like we're copying and pasting like a hyperlink to the state law, which we're required to go by, instead of copying the information off the website and putting it in our own stuff. I mean, just kind of, we have to go by it, right? These are requirements. So it, like you said, it's going to keep us from having to constantly update it every time there is a change. So this is going to be helping with staff time, but we're still going to be making sure we're keeping up on what those changes are. It's just keeping us up to date.
Yeah. One of the benefits here is that there could be things that are further out of our control and extra allowances to developers if we are not in compliance with state law. Thus far, we have been relying on that statement that, you know, any inconsistency falls on state law. This would eliminate that. This would essentially say we are using the state density bonus law. Any changes in the state density bonus law supersede anything in this ordinance. It's more than just a link. It still has a little bit of meat on it, but essentially you're correct. That is what it's doing.
But can we just make sure that we're still kept up to date if there's any big changes? I mean, even though we'll be in compliance and we don't have to make the change, I want to make sure that they're brought up to us when there are changes that are going to affect us, just so we are aware, some sort of informational, not an email necessarily, but, you know, to the council at a meeting, so we can, even if it's in the consent calendar, so we are aware what those changes are when there are large changes that happen. So we'll still be in compliance because we'll have that wording, but I want to make sure we are still getting the information.
Yeah, I'm sure we can provide updates to the council. Thank you.
Any other deliberation? Is there a motion?
I'll move.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Oh,
Go ahead.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's 5-0. Thank you. Item 4.2, Grand Cypress Preserve Development Agreements Master Amendment. Continue from August 8, 2023. Staff is asked to continue to a date uncertain. Item 5, regular calendar. (5.1) Oakley Union Elementary School District freestanding electronic reader boards. Consideration of a proposed sign permit to replace multiple letterboard marquee static freestanding signs along various elementary and middle school frontages with double-sided freestanding electronic reader boards.
Hello again. Thank you. So this is a unique project. We don't see something like this all the time. But the Oakley Union Elementary School District is doing a district-wide upgrade to their freestanding marquee signs. In most cases, they use manually changeable reader boards. I think one school has an electronic sign, another one has one wall mounted. There is one school that has none. And this came about because a couple of these are in the right-of-way, in the public right-of-way. So we have to issue encroachment permits for that work. And in doing so, we worked collaboratively with the school district, the public works and engineering staff, and the planning staff on having them submit this application to come forward for council approval. This is a kind of a markup or a rendering of what the sign would look like. The lower portion where the flag is would be mostly where the reader board is. There's just some background information, the general plan and the zoning for the schools, which are in your staff report. And then the sign ordinance itself is made up of chapter 9.5 of the Oakley Municipal Code. Sign on the right's the existing sign, not the proposed sign. But those are the types of signs that will be replaced. And the idea behind this is to increase the efficiency of the messaging. Obviously, electronic reader boards, such as the one that we have right here at Civic Center or those out on our major arterials, are able to provide much more information to passerby, students, administrators, staff, and students' parents. The area of the sign is just over 15 square feet on each side, so that'll be sort of what the readable area and the changeable copy area will be. This is not the entire city. The right side is cut off just east of Sellers, but these are the locations of the schools, or the location of the schools, and the schools are listed over on the right. So over there on the right, it just talks about what exactly is being proposed. As you can see, Almond Grove has no sign, so that would be a new sign at that location, and then all the other schools are explained further. O'Hara Middle School is the only school that has two signs being done, one of them along O'Hara and one of them along Cypress. Quick analysis, the general regulations in the sign code, this application complies with those. They're in the findings in the resolution if you'd like to look at those closer. Sign permits also, there's a section in sign permits which talks about general standards of approval, and this application meets those requirements as well for staff's analysis. And then finally, just using some extra findings to ensure these signs are compatible with our sign ordinance, staff did an analysis on the administrative sign permits, which normally would be what we use for freestanding signs. In this case, they are freestanding signs. The reader board component, electronic reader board component, requires the city council approval. So that was provided to you as well. This is also in compliance with the Oakley strategic plan. The collaborative partnership between the school and the city on this application in general. In most cases, what schools do is off limits to the city. If they're doing something on campus, we have no jurisdiction over it. But I am proud to say and happy to say that we had a very good time working with the school district on getting these applications in very quickly and bringing them to the council very quickly, so these signs can go in the ground and get up and installed as soon as possible. So the school district has indicated that these would not only be for school events, but they would also advertise some community events on there as well. This project is exempt from CEQA under existing facilities. There's no expansion of use. The schools aren't taking on additional students. There's no environmental impacts associated with these signs. And that does conclude my report. The staff does recommend the signs be approved by council and the proposed resolution adopted.
Any questions of staff? Seeing none. Any public comments? I have no speaker cards. Seeing none. Any deliberation? Or motion?
I'll move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you. 5.2, adopt a resolution to establish an affordable housing ad hoc advisory committee. Mr. McMurray.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. This item is being brought to you as a request from a future agenda item from the August 8th meeting where the mayor requested this item, and it had a second from the Vice Mayor and Councilmember Shaw. This item would establish an affordable housing ad hoc advisory committee. The resolution set forward would allow the City Council to appoint 2 members of the City Council to this committee. In addition, there was no direction to advertise this to allow members of the public to join the committee. That's not to say that isn't possible, and staff has crafted the resolution to allow for that. And if direction is given, staff would then develop an application, release that for probably a 2-week period to the public, which would give us enough time to bring this back at the first meeting in October to appoint members of the community to the committee. Staff has not indicated on here how many members of the committee or of the public because that direction has not been given, but that is something you should consider if you're directing staff to advertise this. We'd like to advertise to the public maybe a range of seats that would be available for the public to sit on. In addition, ad hoc committees are usually single-focused entities and usually for a short period or duration of time. So we have set the committee to expire at the end of this year. That's not to say with direction from the council that could be extended tonight or at a future meeting prior to the expiration of the committee, if so approved by resolution. So that is the item as presented, and staff is available for any questions.
Any questions of staff? Vice Mayor Williams.
So I think specifically the item that why Mayor Meadows asked for this was for the Carroll Lane one. So this seems a little bit more general just in the title, Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. So are we intending it to be a broader, or is it really kind of narrow focused, or did we have any intent there?
The way I understood the ask, and the mayor might want to clarify, but I understood the ask to form an ad hoc committee. That is what I came up with a title. We could title it something differently if we choose to, but I understand the intent of this is to address the issues at the Carroll Lane Apartments.
That is correct.
Okay, so I wonder if just to reduce confusion, maybe we should think about calling it something a little bit, because to me, we absolutely need an affordable housing committee, not necessarily an ad hoc committee for that portion of it. But for this part, seems like we could try and, solve the things that we need to solve, move forward, similar to how we do with any of our other partners, like in schools and stuff like that. So I don't know, like what we could title it, but just so that it's not confusing, especially if we do decide to go bring it out to the public. I just think we should have a little more clarity is all.
Councilmember Fuller.
Yes, to piggyback on Vice Mayor Williams, I believe, yes, if we could add the ad hoc committee, a sentence, the ad hoc committee will focus on the Oaks apartment complex, and the second, and I appreciate the December 31st, and yes, we can bring it back if we need to, and it's understood, but the ad hoc committee will take no action without approval of the entire council, the whole council. So if you add those 3 caveats, I think we've pretty well targeted what we want to target, unless somebody disagrees with that.
Any comments on that? Any other questions? I have some public speaker requests on this. Michael Dupre. Don't see him. Oak Johnson.
Thank you. And we prepared a comment based on our initial reading of in the attachment, that it was a more larger affordable housing program. We certainly, I think our comments echo, even if it's focused on the Oaks community in general. Again, I'm Oak Johnson. I'm the Executive Vice President for Wynn Residential, an affordable housing operator here in Oakley. Our company manages more than 600 apartment communities of affordable housing or in the country. Of those, we manage 600 units here in the city of Oakley. I'm here tonight to endorse the concept of an ad hoc committee to support affordable housing residents, owners, and operators here in Oakley. Providing safe, well-maintained affordable housing to individuals and families who need it is a goal that we all share. Our experience over many years in this field is that the community support and partnership play an important role in the success of affordable housing properties and the quality of life for its residents. In forming this ad hoc committee, we would like to suggest that the council consider including residents, owners, and operators among its members so that all perspectives and experiences inform the committee's approach and work. It is also important to remember that affordable housing is already a highly regulated field on the local, state, and federal level. In fact, the regulatory agreements that guide and control our work are often quite complex. So we also recommend that members of the committee receive training on the subsidy programs, income restrictions most common in our field, as well as training on fair housing laws and the regulations that govern landlord-tenant interactions. Our mission as a company is to raise the standards for property management every day, one interaction at a time. By working hard to provide quality, affordable housing and services that improve the quality of life for our residents, we welcome a smart, well-informed partnership with the City of Oakley to advance this goal. Thank you.
I have no other speaker cards. Any other comments from council? Councilmember Shaw.
So I'd like to put it out there that I'm interested in being on this committee. I manage affordable housing in my day job. I have all that training that you had mentioned, and I do believe that it should be, in my opinion, collaborative. I would like to limit it to maybe residents of that facility, so they're living it and not just people outside that that have an opinion about the Oaks, negatively or positively. It doesn't have to be limited, but I want to make sure we have a few seats that are specific for them so they have a voice. And if we are going to do that, the December date isn't, in my opinion, going to work because it's going to take us a while to get those applications and then get them seated. So I would like to see it extended a couple months out, and then we can go from there.
We could address that, I think, at that time. I would like to be on that committee. I'm also in property management. I'm not what you guys do, but I am in property management. And then I would like to see 2 members from the community, the Oaks community, and I'm okay with you sitting there. I think you should be. So that's my comments. Vice Mayor Williams.
So the only thing that I'm concerned about, I absolutely want us to include more people in this process. I want to, get some forward progress. But like I expressed multiple times when I first was seated about how bad the conditions were there. I mean, we're bringing groceries to people. The elevators were broken. Windows were broken. There was trash everywhere. And at that time, I thought I was making a difference and trying to improve some of the situation, and it didn't. We're still back to the same thing. So the only thing I'm worried about is extending the timeline. We need to get some real solutions for the people who are living there, and so that's the only thing that makes me nervous about the timeline extending. I want to see real traction. So I'm fully I think we need to have more people involved rather than less. I just need some reassurance that there's steps that are currently being taken that are gradually improving their everyday conditions, because I have real fears about the way those folks are living right now. And I don't know that we're making enough progress, which is why I believe the ad hoc committee was brought up. So I just want to make sure that we're getting some progress in the interim of appointing an ad hoc committee. But I'm fully in support of community members. I'm fully in support of, obviously they should be involved, the owners and the management company and all of that. But I don't know, need some progress reports each council meeting or something so we know the status, because I know we're all getting emails, and I saw it firsthand, and that was 3 years ago, and it seems that there's been little improvement. So that's my only hesitation.
Councilmember Henderson.
My recommendation would be to keep the timeline line, and by keeping that, it kind of keeps it going and making it there at the end of the timeline, or as we get closer if we need to extend it. But if we extend it out in the beginning, I think it'll slow down the process. And so keeping that December date, I think, is important.
Councilmember Shaw.
I definitely understand the wanting to get things done. My only thought was with the holidays and stuff, it's gonna, December, November, there's a lot going on. I also want to make it very clear that we're not here to become a mediator between the residents and the management. And so that needs to be understood when we're going through this. I don't want it to become that. We're here to really get down to what's going on and see what we can do. So I say let's keep the December date, and if things need to be extended out, I'm okay with that. I was just thinking the timeline of getting people on it, seated, and the holidays. So,
Vice Mayor Williams.
You mentioned that we could have potentially, you could get stuff out and we could have it for the October meeting. I guess, could we at this meeting right now say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We want to appoint this certain number of people to be part of this. And the first meeting will be this date. So that way everybody applying knows this is what your first committed date is, and maybe even sketch out a couple more just so that people know what they're committing to by applying. And then we also already have those dates sort of in there. Is that unrealistic to ask for us to do?
I think it may be unrealistic to set a date at this meeting. I think, trying to think about some dates as we advertise might be helpful, but until we get direction and we put it out there, it's going to be hard to know with schedules and who you appoint when we can actually meet. Plus, because it's an ad hoc committee and not a council subcommittee, this ad hoc committee would be subject to open meeting law, so we would have to publicly notice any meeting that we hold. So there's that would go with it as well. So we are going to have to notify the public. Anybody from the public can attend these meetings. But I think it might be a tad bit premature to set a meeting date at this meeting. But what I am hearing is, it seems like there's a desire to keep the December date. I think what we'd like to know as staff is who are the two committee members from the council. How many members, or is there a range of members of the public that you'd like on the committee, and if you'd like management to be involved as well?
Okay, so I think 2 council members. I'd like one to be myself, and then one to be Councilmember Shaw. I think 2 members from the Oaks, and I think 1 person from management. 1 person from management that has authority. Any other comments, questions, or is there a motion? Sorry, we can talk after. We've already gone through public comments. So, is there a motion?
I will move it to move the ad hoc committee with Mayor Meadows and Councilmember Shaw to be members. Those 2 can decide the public members, or have we already said three public members? We can have.
I mean, we could do it right now, and then it's set.
Okay, well, 3. If I put 3 public members, I think we'll leave it open to the ad hoc committee and who will be appointed. But so I'll put 3 public members, and I also added the caveat that it target the Oaks apartments, and that no action be taken without council approval, at least governmental action. The private sector can do it, but without governmental action. And it'll terminate on December 31st, 2023. And I move it.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item 6, reports. 6.1, City Manager. Mr. McMurray.
Good evening again. I just wanted to highlight 2 events for the community that the city is putting on in the upcoming future. The Heart of Oakley Festival will take place not this Saturday, but 2 Saturdays from now, Saturday, September 23rd. It will happen in our downtown here, a great event happening from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Look forward to seeing the community out in full force. And then on October 6th, the final summer concert Paired with our Friday Night Bites will take place. The band Maya Latin Roots will be playing, and that event is from 5 to 9 p.m. And then the second part of the city manager report, you'll notice that I attached the August business license report, and that shows both home-based businesses and brick and mortars. And this was something that was brought up at a prior city council meeting. So this is staff's attempt to inform the public and the city council of new businesses within our community. And I plan to do this at the first meeting of every city council meeting. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Item 6.2, Oakley City Council acting as a successor agency to the Oakley Redevelopment Agency. Reports. Councilmember Henderson.
Since our last council meeting, I attended Diablo Water, Friday Night Bites, and the East Contra Costa County Habitat Conservative. Thank you.
Councilmember Fuller.
Yes, since the last regular council meeting, I attended the Freedom Fuel coffee hour or coffee shop. I highly recommend it. Go there. They will be announcing that you have to kind of watch. I know I'll put it up, but it was a very endearing endeavor that's very much working positive aspects with the life skills class at Freedom High. I did watch the BAFA MTC committee meeting mid-August. The only ones that showed up was BAFA. MTC was absent, and BAFA made it well understood that MTC was not there, and they were approving things for BAFA and MTC. And moving on, they are moving for the regional area. They want to have a regional vote on another $20 billion. There's actually two items coming up, but it'd be a general obligation bond of $20 billion for the entire region, or ABAG region, which includes Santa Clara County, San Mateo County, San Francisco County. It just is Alameda County. It's kind of scary to think about. It's like BART. We are under the same thing. Contra Costa County does not approve BART by 2/3. In fact, less than 2/3. In fact, less than a half, as I remember it. And San Mateo boots this over the top with their vote all the time. So that's the way it is. It would be 2/3 vote of the entire region for the $20 billion. They were adamant that they are not telling cities how they have to run their affordable housing. They are also very adamant that no community will get the money unless they meet the demands of BAFA at the committee. They will set down standards, and if you don't meet the standards, then you won't get money. But they aren't trying to tell you what to do in your community, is what they said. I tried to ask about the RENA. My understanding from Mayor Arreguín out of Berkeley, that Berkeley and others are trying to reduce their RENA numbers. Mayor Meadows has brought up San Francisco, which hasn't done much of anything, and they have an extraordinary amount of housing to build. But to reduce the RENA numbers and move them out, they ignored the question, and they ignored the question on discrimination. I brought up, it seems discriminatory that you are moving affordable housing out to an area while your BIPOC population is getting smaller. And it seems like you want to continue that way, and it really bothers me because now Berkeley, there's just an article now that there's housing prices is skyrocketing, but yet they want us to build the housing. So that goes on to it. One other thing is there will be, and maybe our friend in the back might want to know, but there'll be several information meetings of ABAG. They can't campaign, they acknowledge that, so they will have many, many information meetings on this. And I know these reports always seem long, but the meetings seem longer. So I'll leave it at that.
Vice Mayor Williams.
All right. I went to Tri-Delta Transit. We talked a lot about bus feeder service for fiscal year 25 and beyond. Right now, $6.8 million comes to this region from BART. BART will be reporting a $93 million budget shortfall in fiscal year 25. So what that equates to for our local routes, Tri-Delta Transit will lose 36,000 hours of our total allotted 192,000 fixed route services. So that's a big number to be short. Tri-Delta Transit did distribute pass to classes, which is a way for high school students to, or middle school students too, actually, to utilize the bus system. So 908 students have received 2 passes each that have helped them get to school for the beginning of the year. Clipper Start is a good program that they talked about. People who are 200% of the poverty line. So that's an individual making $300,000 a year or less can receive a 20% discount on board on fares, and the board approved upping it to 50%, a 50% discount. I did ask for a future agenda item requesting a look at bus shelters and shading them based on a public comment we received here at our special meeting. I did also attend a BOFA workshop, and I did actually have a follow-up meeting with their executive director. I have a ton of information that I can share out regarding it. She gave me all the San Francisco numbers too for what they're doing. And she did confirm that this funding does not allow any changes to RENA, but rather provides a funding mechanism to incentivize affordable housing. Neither the organization BOFA nor the county can require those units to be built. The state will continue enforcement. It's just a way to get the return to source funds so that we can help to encourage more affordable housing. So still, more follow-up that I think we should have in there, but I did have a meeting with their executive director and got a lot of information, which I'll send your way. I did also meet with the family of Michael Orr, and they wanted to make sure that our police staff knew how much they appreciated them. They felt that everybody was very professional and very kind, and obviously it was a hard thing to find, but they were really grateful for the city of Oakley. So I just wanted everybody to publicly realize the work that our police officers put in for them. So thank you for that.
Councilmember Shaw.
Since our last regular meeting, gosh, was the fishing derby like in between these meetings? So I feel like, yes, we had the Oakley Fishing Derby, and I was able to help hand out awards to the largest, smallest, and most fish caught. Iron House board meeting mostly was general good governance and communication, including some policy on social media. There is talk of, I guess they talked about starting to go to 2 meetings a month and stopping some of their standing committee meetings, so that means I'll see them a little more often. I got the tail end of the virtual BOFA workshop. We've, of course, had our Oakley Special Council meeting, Tri-Delta Transit. Vice Mayor Williams already commented on, but I did want to let those know that are looking at the extension for the Clipper Start that doesn't start until January 2024. Contra Costa County Mayor's Conference, Freedom Homecoming, and lots of emails, calls, texts regarding Carol Lane. That's been keeping me pretty busy.
I attended MCE Mayor's Conference last week, and then last Thursday also I attended meeting put on by County Ag Department and the state agency regarding quarantine that covers 100 square miles, all of Oakley, all of Brentwood. So 100 square miles out here in our ag area. That affects $150 million in ag product. We had an Oriental fruit fly brought into the area. Some homeowner traveled out of the area and brought in fruit fly, and it was found somewhere along Lone Tree Way. And now all the farmers are impacted. And, I sit up here and, I listen to people talk about preserving all this ag, and I say it's dead. And people look at me like I'm crazy, but we can't farm locally like we really need to. And this is a huge impact on the farmers. Unfortunately, the corn farmers are okay, but cherries, grapes, the list of crops is huge. And $150 million of affected crops in this area. So I attended that meeting. 6.2B, request for future agenda. Councilmember Fuller.
Yes, I have two. The first one is I would like to have a report back or a work session, if we can arrange it, on residential loans, low-cost loans for residents, especially in certain income levels, that rehabilitate their homes, not remodel them, but rehabilitate and provide paint, roofs, with items of that that may be available to them that we can help arrange. And you can explain the programs further. The other one, and I'm glad Mayor Meadows brought up the agriculture and the $150 million worth of crops. I've mentioned I've driven across the Delta, and I'm just amazed how much agriculture is in this area. But not amazed. I'm happy that this much agriculture. But in saying that, I would like staff to, if possible, to find out how we may leave ABAG. I don't know. I don't know exactly where we would go, but if we left the Association of Bay Area Governments and we're out of that region, I believe we would be exempt from the regional vote. Also, that we would be taken out and not be there. But beyond that, we have a wealth out here, and I think we're getting beat up and oppressed and micromanaged and microaggressions out of the towns along the coast. I'm looking at a pair, I won't say what their names are, but we have a big fishing industry in this area too. So I think that we need to look at leaving ABAG and finding another source that's more fitting to our circumstances here in Oakley. So I'd like to arrange that.
So in your first request, how far out do you want that? You looking for it in the next month or two, or you next 6?
No, when staff can arrange it.
Depending on staff time?
Yeah.
I'll support the first one depending on staff time, as long as it depends on staff time, because they're pretty busy right now. Is there a second for the ABAG motion? Seeing none. Any other requests? We item 7, work sessions. We have no work sessions tonight. We do have a closed session. 8.1, conference with legal counsel. Anticipated litigation. Significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 D2, one potential case. When we come out of closed session, we will adjourn this meeting to our next regularly scheduled meeting of September 26th. So thank you for coming tonight. And we'll take like a 5-minute break or so. Thank you.